Hi, Alexander. Hi, Prince Diane. How you guys doing? And how's your weekend? And hey, Prince, that's Daniel. Thank you so much. How you guys all doing this weekend? Anything exciting this weekend? And if you just tune in, just follow our normal routine, share so that we have many people to join us. And thank you again. We have more discussions about issues. If you just join in, just share. Hello, Mimi. Thank you. And if you just join in, Waters, thank you. If you just join in, just share so that we have many people to join us as well. And remember, you can always get in live with me on the Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. So either way, you will get me on live. And thank you again, Waters. I'm doing great, and you guys. And if you are here in the great state of Texas or you are elsewhere in the United States, just indicate where you are. And I'm glad to have you. And you guys are all wonderful. And remember, you can always get me on Twitter, you can always get me on Facebook, and you can always get me on YouTube. So either or, you will get me live. And thank you again. And remember our normal routine, share so that we get more people to join us. And thank you again. And this been Funton Daniel speaking here from the great state of Texas. And I know it's 5 p.m. Standard Time here in Texas. I don't know, maybe people in Europe, they're probably sleeping, and those in ground zero, they're also sleeping, except someone may be still awake. And if in Russia, China, wherever you are and you're still awake, just let us know so we know you are with us this evening. And once more, thank you again for taking your time and joining me live. This has been Footnote Daniel here from the great state of Texas. Let me see, Waters, and who else is joining us? Okay. I know it's been a weekend and so many things happening. Do you know anything that you believe just happening and that you can share with us? And let me have an idea of what you guys already have. So if you have some idea, just type it a little bit below. I am seeing it and I will also comment on it as well. And one thing I want to remind you, if you, Finland, at least Finland, that's still not of Europe, so therefore you're still awake. I'm glad you are still awake, and thank you again. Waters is from Finland and is still not sleeping yet. So at least we have someone from Europe. Finland is in the north of Europe. Therefore, we have one. And yes, we have ministerial appointment by La Republique. But Southern Cameroon also made an appointment. The acting president also made an appointment. And La Republique thinks their appointment is going to be an opportunity for the Southern Cameroon to jubilate. Unfortunately, Southern Cameroon is moving ahead, you know. So what have been requested is a roundtable discussions And since they can request for a roundtable discussion, Southern Cameroon doesn't need to wait for La Republique. So Southern Cameroon is moving ahead. And we have Paddy from Ohio. Thank you, Paddy, for joining us and from Ohio. Uh, La Republique thinks Southern Cameroon are just confused people. But I think who is more confused? La Republique. Because they don't understand. They don't understand. They don't, you know, they have an old 85 years phobia that is mentally challenged. And I have Peter from Baltimore. That's Maryland. Thank you for joining us for this evening. And if you just joining us, just share so that we have many people joining us. And thank you again. Remember, you can always get me on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter Live. So you can always get me. And when you happen to be on the YouTube, just subscribe so that's where we can share more information. And easy to find, just Google, say Funton Daniel, get my exactly spellings, and you will see me pop up on the YouTube, and you just subscribe. That's where we share more, we share all the rest of the other informations. And we have Abongwa from Abongwa, Israel. Thank you again for joining Rob Collins. And thank you, Colin, for joining in. You know, you guys from Switzerland. Oh, that's great. I thought you guys in Europe are already sleeping, but I guess you still are awake. But anyway, thank you so much for taking off your time. And I have a Bongwa. Thank you for joining in. You guys are wonderful. You guys are great, you know. It is very, very important that I have the opportunity talking to you guys, you know. And you remember, you can always get me on Twitter, because this battle is a serious battle that we must fight, and we must fight. We are currently the media power or the media empire, and that we must exercise our media empire over La Republique. And that our sovereignty, the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon, is not negotiable, and that we must stand firm. And so if wherever you are, just share the information. You don't know how powerful this information is. It is, but I can assure you that the information is powerful, and that it goes straight to those concerned, and that La Republique thinks we are not, but unfortunately, they are riding the wrong horse. But unfortunately, we are already on our destination, you know, and that we must use the media empire over our advantages. And I want to take a moment. Thank you so much for joining in. And if you just happen to join in, just share so that we have many people tuning in. And once more again, thank you for joining in. And my name is Funton Daniel. I am speaking here from the great state of Texas. I have Bonwa from Bonwa. Yes, we have to. Watching. Thank you again. Thank you guys. You guys are wonderful. You guys are so great, you know. Yes, as someone rightly said, there was some appointment that was made by La Republique. And when you see that they appoint an anglophone to a Ministry of Territorial Administrations, and according to La Republique, we should be jubilating. No, Southern Cameroon is now a sovereign nation, and he can nationalize in La Republique and take a ministerial position in La Republique. And that doesn't mean that he represents the voice of the Southern Cameroon. Yes, I want to make that clear that he can take a position in La Republique. That doesn't implies that he is the voice of the Southern Cameroon. He is not. And so the Southern Cameroon is a sovereign nation, and the Southern Cameroon has its acting president. And we have our interim president that are now nowhere about, but two has been released by the Nigerian authority, whereas the rest will still figure out where they are. And we will continue and to pressurize. But we want to make La Republique understand that the Southern Cameroon has gone the stages where they're no longer turning back, and that they must stand firm and stand firm in their position for the sovereignty of the Southern Cameroon territory. And so first of all, before I proceed, I want to take a moment to thank the President of the United States. I want to take a moment to thank the U.S. Congress. I want to take a moment to thank the U.S. Senate. I want to take a moment to thank the Secretary of State, Tilson. I want to take a moment to thank the U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations. I want to take a moment to thank the U.S. Department of Defense. I want to take a moment to thank all areas of the United States government. They are doing everything best to them to ensure that the Southern Cameroon prevails. And so many of you are not aware, but that's what I just want to let you know, and that we must proceed in that. So there is one thing I am very critical is the United Nations. You know, when one usually talk about the United Nations, one think about a sovereign body that believe in about the goal and objectives in which the leaders of the 1946 or 1945-46 General Assembly in the United States. The United Nations purpose was to maintain peace and security in and around the world. And that the leaders at the time, that was their main objective, was to prevent future war. And the United Nations has exercised those duties. But unfortunately, the current system, the current United Nations in place, the current United Nations leaders is Antonio Guterres, the United Nations Deputy Secretary, Amina Mohammed, and the United Nations representative to the Central African region, Francois Lefort. There is something that is absolutely wrong with this system. Because let me take you straight back. When a patient goes to the hospital, the first thing is the doctor and the nurses, they gather information about that particular patient. The doctor doesn't jump into conclusions without any assessment and identify what is the problem of that particular patient. And once the data that has been gathered, either X-ray, chest X-ray, and CT scan, all those information, physical assessment, all those informations provide the physicians and to be able to diagnose that particular patient, that the patient may have pneumonia, the patient may have other disease. And once they have that factual information, they are able to present it, that this is what you have and this is how we're going to treat it. But the United Nations did not. Instead, the Central African representative, Francois Lefort, described the people of Southern Cameroon as a terrorist and hasn't been in that physical land of the Southern Cameroon. He hasn't been there. And how did he get his diagnosis and then his conclusion? And so when people have wrong judgment to make analysis about a certain environment, and then jump into conclusion about the people without a physical assessment, identify who are these people and what can I deduce or what can I conclude from my assessment of the people of Southern Cameroon. And why should I rush into conclusion that they are a terrorist? If Southern Cameroon in their territory are terrorists, who is more of a terrorist? La République, that is invading the Southern Cameroon, a sovereign nation that was voted by the United Nations in 1961 at a plenary session here in New York. And if the United Nations in the plenary sessions here in New York recognize the Southern Cameroon as a sovereign nation, then Francois Lefort may be making a wrong judgment, giving wrong analysis about the people of Southern Cameroon. When the United Nations in 1961, in their Article 76B and Article 1608 XV of 1961, adopted by the United Nations office and recognizing the Southern Cameroon as a sovereign nation. And in doing so, in 1961, La République was not part of that document. La République was not part of the United Nations. And when in 1960, when the same body recognized La République as a sovereign nation, Southern Cameroon territory wasn't part of La République. And so you will agree with me that those are two separate entities. And if the two separate entities are asking the people of Southern Cameroon, indicate that the relationship we've had within the past 56 years with La République has not been effective. And the people whom are the Southern Cameroon question the relationship they've had with La République. It is the duty of the United Nations sending a representative to the Southern Cameroon territory and assess their condition, why they decide that they no longer want La République to live together. And so a certain individual that maybe have a mental challenge or mental breakdown or is poorly judgment, giving his conclusion that the people of Southern Cameroon are a terrorist. Who is more of a terrorist? La République, that is sending soldiers invading the Southern Cameroon territory? You see, when United Nations giving misguided information, that is what caused atrocity and butchery and murdering people in and around the world, because when they employ people with mentally confused, making wrong judgment or wrong analysis about this, a certain territorial integrity, and then giving feedback to the United Nations body, that this is my identification, this is my assessment, this is my report about the people around the world. And the United Nations rushed into conclusion without giving exact situation. And so they continue to be genocide in and around the world because the United Nations is employing certain individuals that lack mental and sound judgment. And people like Francois Lefort. It is very, very unfortunate that United Nations lack competent individuals to handle a certain jurisdiction or a certain functions. And so that draws into the conclusion that any analysis given to the United Nations body is giving the wrong informations and end up having what? The wrong judgment and the wrong conclusion, and the people that are affected are continue being affected because United Nations is housing people that lack sound judgment. I mean, when you have like the United Nations giving wrong analysis, Southern Cameroon has demonstrated that they have an interim government. An interim government, many people doesn't understand what is an interim government. What is an acting government? And an acting or interim government is a government that resides any part of the world. And that government represents the people's aspirations. So Southern Cameroon is not the first nation to have an acting or interim government. The South Korea had an interim government or acting government. The South Korea under the Japanese Empire. Under the Japanese Empire, the people of South Korea and North Korea were part of Japan. But when the people of South Korea think that the relationship with Japan is no longer feasible and that they think that they can form their own nations, and so they formed their interim government, and that interim government of the people of South Korea was residing in Shanghai, China. And so the acting government of the people of South Korea was in Shanghai, China. So Southern Cameroon is not the first nation to have an acting government or interim government that is residing out of the Southern Cameroon territory. So many of you don't know why should there be an acting or interim government outside the country. It is because they are preparing that they are the representative of the people and that they are looking for means through international community so that they can give a transition, and they stand as the voice of the people. And that voice of the people was exercised on October 1st when they called a total demonstration in the Southern Cameroon territory. And that exercise was manifested in the Southern Cameroon territory. That should have been a clear call for the United Nations to understand that the people of Southern Cameroon has decided that their sovereignty is not negotiable. And it is obvious reason that United Nations should have dispatched a representative to the Southern Cameroon territory and investigate exactly what is the problem. Why should the people or an acting or interim government that is residing outside of the country call a wide demonstration and the people observe? So it is my prerogative, the United Nations duty, to set an underground investigation to assess the situation. United Nations did not send underground investigative mission to identify. And that is why they instead asked La République to send and investigate exactly who is sending a corruption leader to investigate itself. It's just like the prison break. In a prison break, then they ask the prisoners to investigate itself. Just like a patient goes to the hospital, instead of a doctor assess the patient and use all available tools to diagnose the patient, instead the doctor asking the patient to diagnose himself by assessing himself. And if the patient can assess himself, why should the patient go to the hospital in the first place? And so that brought me to a point where does the United Nations has mentally challenged individuals working in that particular office? Francois Lefort. Francois Lefort is someone that were picked up somewhere in the Guinean Republic. I don't know, because he happens to be somewhere a prime minister, and in the education that is substandard education system that he acquired. And today he is with the United Nations to make judgment about people of high caliber reasoning or high judgment. And he lacked those mental highly caliber judgment to make credible analysis about the situation in the Central African region. And despite the fact that the leaders of the interim government called a nationwide boycott, and it was highly respected, and it was efficiently, and the government of La République making a propaganda, and nothing was effective, that should have signaled the United Nations that these people are serious. And yet, the leaders of this interim government were arrested in Nigeria. When they were arrested in Nigeria, the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, was physically in Nigeria. It seems like it was a complicity of the United Nations with the Nigerian government and La République. And yet, the United Nations has not officially making any announcement or statement regarding the abduction of the leaders of the Southern Cameroon territory. The United Nations and the Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, was physically in Nigeria. And it should have been a prerogative for the United Nations to make a statement that if the Southern Cameroon territory, a former trusted territory of the United Nations, and the people has demonstrated, it's not only just demonstrating it physically in Southern Cameroon, they have been demonstrating worldwide. They have demonstrated in the United Nations head office here in New York. And it is not just a single demonstration. It has been ongoing demonstration here in the United States and elsewhere. That should have signaled the United Nations that they ought to make an investigation to find out exactly what is the problem of the former British trusted territory. Yet, the United Nations doesn't see them as a prerogative to even investigate or even call a general session of the United Nations to discuss the crisis. Instead, they rely on La République. They rely on La République to make an investigation and report to the United Nations. It is very unfortunate that when I call United Nations, it's made up of corrupted individuals. And that is why I am asking the United States government to make impromptu investigation about the United Nations corrupting practices. I have one more familiar person I always refer to him, and I always mention about him, the Kosovo crisis. It may have been forgotten. The Kosovo crisis, this was the area that also caused the Second World War. And that was the area that also caused the Second World War. But when Bill Clinton realized that the people of Kosovo are being maltreated and the military wing, he instructed his military defense department and the State Department. And that crisis was brought down. And now the people are living in peace. And those are being tried in the War Crime Tribunal. And those perpetrated the genocide. And yet, Southern Cameroon is a trusted territory of the United Nations. It's a nation that's supposed to be an impromptu investigation by the United Nations. But because the leaders of the United Nations traveled to Central African Republic and he was given a gold medal, and it didn't occur to him that he's supposed to send an investigation because he was already being corrupted by a brutal dictator, Paul Biya. And so therefore, he doesn't need to make any investigation, because once you are already corrupted, you are already part of the corrupted system. And so since you are part of the corrupted system, you can't make investigation to investigate yourself because you are part of the corrupted system. And that is why he paid no attention. And this is the United Nations body that has had the highest corrupted system in the entire United Nations functions. And that is why I am still calling on the United States. Because the United States is a government that believes in the rule of law. I remember when the United Nations, I remember when the president, when the World Cup body were hardly led by the most corrupted officials, and United States arrest those leaders of the World Cup governing body, the FIFA. I'm sure many of you are aware of FIFA. United States sent an investigation, and so many of them were arrested, and so many of them are now in jail because of the corrupted practices. And therefore, United Nations is not different, and United Nations should be investigated. And also, those involved in the practices of corruption should also be booked in jail, because as they fail to exercise the duty of the United Nations as it's supposed to, and that leads to more corrupted officials. If you can imagine that the Southern Cameroon is a trusted territory of the United Nations, and if Southern Cameroon is a trusted territory of the United Nations, therefore, when the Southern Cameroon were demonstrating, United Nations should have dispatched an investigator to investigate why are the people demonstrating. But they did not. And now we have 50 to 60,000 citizens of this Southern Cameroon speaking territory that are currently in Nigeria. And the entire cabinet of these citizens have been arrested. And at the time of their being arrested, United Nations Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed was physically in Nigeria. And then one kind of draw conclusion that was she working in accordance with La République du Cameroon to ensure that those leaders were arrested and silent. So La République should remain preoccupier of the Southern Cameroon territory. And that is why I know the only country that is able to throw more light about what is the corrupted system and answer the information to the general public is the United States. And that is why I am asking the United States government to set up an inquiry. I know Secretary of State is traveling to Central African Republic, is traveling to West Africa, to some African countries. I understand his mission. But he shouldn't forget that the Southern Cameroon territory was voted by the United States as one of the 64 nations that support the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon. And so the people of Southern Cameroon has demonstrated elsewhere around the world, including the United States. And as I'm speaking, because I am also one of the sons of that particular territory, that I am seeing at least 40,000 or 50,000 people of my citizens being living, languishing in Nigeria. And I am kind of concerned. Are they supposed to be in Nigeria? Who is La République, by the way, to the Southern Cameroon territory? La République has no legal authority over the people of Southern Cameroon. And United Nations can't even act appropriately. But we have a sub-Central African regional director saying that the people of Southern Cameroon is a terrorist. In whose territory? The Southern Cameroon in their territory become a terrorist in their territory. Who is La République? Does La République have any legitimacy over the Southern Cameroon? Obviously, you will agree with me that La République has no legitimacy over the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon. So that is why this my message is addressing to fellow United States government. That they need to act, avoid the humanitarian crisis that is currently happening. I can imagine A wife seeing the husband being slaughtered from the neck and he's bleeding by the military wing of La Republique. And I have all the images on my Facebook, if you are not aware of. And United Nations doesn't think that is a crisis that requires an attention of the United Nations body. When people of the indigenous are being slaughtered by the army that has no legal authority over the people, the fact that Southern Cameroon has invited La Republique to live with La Republique as a friendly gesture doesn't allow La Republique over the supremacy or control over the people of Southern Cameroon. The people are a sovereign nation. And when the wife is kicking against the brutality, La Republique went ahead and arrested the wife. And I'm sure she may not be still alive while I'm speaking now. She may have also been killed. But yet, it doesn't seem to occur to United Nations that they need to send an investigator to find out exactly what is happening in the Southern Cameroon territory. And the demonstration by the citizens of the citizens of Southern Cameroon demonstrating here in the United States, they are well qualified individuals. They are highly intelligent. They are graduated from the highest university here in the United States. And if they can forego their normal activities and demonstrate in front of the United Nations, it means something is absolutely wrong. And therefore, it should occur to the United Nations to send a representative to investigate why the people of this highly caliber are asking me what I should do. Instead, he's more concerned of his goal that was awarded to him by the brutal dictatorship, Pobia. Pobia is 85 years old. What does he have to instill to the people of to the Southern Cameroon? Obviously, you will agree with me that he may be having a mentally challenge. Neither he can exercise his mental functions. And yet, we have the Deputy Secretary General that traveled to Nigeria at the time of their arrest, and they haven't opened their mouth and speak properly. But when the Iranians were just demonstrating, when the Iranians demonstrate on the street, the entire United Nations General Assembly was called in. There was not a single shot fired they will have a worldwide condemnation by the United Nations body. There was a general session called in talking about the Iranian crisis because they were demonstrating. But yet you have at least 60,000 refugees. You know, they have at least 60,000 refugees from the southern Cameroon that were actually in Nigeria. And a series of them being murdered and slaughtered. Series of them are being burned alive. The images is horrific. Their home is being destroyed. And yet, it doesn't occur to the United Nations that they need to call a general session to discuss the crisis of southern Cameroon. But it was Iranian, it would have been an immediate first issue to be tabled at the United Nations, and an immediate general session be called in the United Nations. And yet, no Southern Cameroon should be called because they are from the lower class race. I am also asking the British government that they owe part of these problems. The British government owe part of these problems. Because there are two analyses that one can be able to give good conclusion. Canada has voted twice the French-speaking Canadian, the minority of the French-speaking Canadian, has voted twice to have an independence and failed. The French-speaking Canadian has voted twice, if not more, to have their sovereignty, but failed. And they have had more chances of the presidency of Canada, more than the English majority speaking. And yet, they still want to remain independent. And they practice the federal system of government. Why should the Southern Cameroon choose to remain in La République? When the past 56 years, no prime minister, no head of, no the control of the presidency has been any Anglo-Saxon. And you can imagine when a French president that an Anglophone speaking can never be a president of Cameroon. And that should have signaled everyone that we ought to stand firmly for the sovereignty of the Southern Cameroon territory. There is another reference that I will always make. The people of Britain voted to join the European Union. They believe that joining the European Union, it will give economic bloc and will give opportunity for the entire European Union. And it will create a single European currency. And it will give a geometric economic prosperity of the both nations. And that will prevent excessive taxation from one place to the next. And so the British government saw that idea and voted to join the European Union. After they realized that they don't need the European Union, they still voted to exit the European Union. And there was no single gunshot. There was no single fight. The European Union did not invade the people of Britain. They recognized them as a gentleman's decision to pull out. Why can the people of Southern Cameroon also enumerate and gentleman pull out? Why must France be the sole architect to deciding over the African continent? Southern Cameroon doesn't need La République in any form, in anything. La République has nothing to offer to the people of Southern Cameroon. La République hasn't. It doesn't have anything to offer that will prompt the Anglophone speaking to remain in a relationship with La République. Over what? Absolutely nothing La République can offer that the Southern Cameroon will be so happy and proud to have La République as an equal partner. That is why I am speaking those who happen to have migrated to this Western Hemisphere. They remain silent. No one cares to talk about it because they are so afraid. They want to be, we are the good ones. We want to be respected. We want to travel to La République. And yes, because we have, can you proud of La République over the Southern Cameroon? That they are of beneficial, that we think we should remain together with La République. Absolutely, there is nothing La République can stand and offer. Just a deforestation that they are removing all the trees of the Southern Cameroon and being sold by the son of Pop, yeah? That is why you want to stay in La République. That is why you want to mention your interest. You want to show how you are so lovely. You want to show how friendly you are to La République. And you want to show how you can travel to La République. La République has 3 functional airports. Douala Airport, Yaoundé Airport, and Garoua Airport. But the Southern Cameroon territory doesn't even have a single airport that is functioning. La République has 2 seaports that they have to spend 6 billion a year to carry inland drainage to Douala and to Garoua. But yet we have the natural seaport in Limbe. It's not functioning. And that is why you want to tell me how you want to be a good citizen, that you need to travel to La République. And you don't want to talk about it. You just want to remain the good old guys that La République doesn't need. Tell me why I should be partnership with La République. There is absolutely no benefit of having La République in part of our territory. There is absolutely nothing. And if all of us here in the United States, just all of us in the United States, come together and stand firmly, we can eliminate La Republique within a tweak of a second. That we don't talk about the rest of the Europe combined. Just all of us here in the United States. If we all stood up and said we are firm and that we stand with our decision, we will get rid of La Republique right now as I'm speaking. We don't need even any like Europeans. I know the Europeans are doing excellent job. I know they are doing great job. All the Southern Cameroon in Europe, all the Southern Cameroon elsewhere. But just all of us here in the United States from the Southern Cameroon territory, and if we stand firmly, we can eliminate La Republique within a tweak of a second. But you want to tell me why I should need La Republique. Give me a particular reason why I should need La Republique. The revenue that is coming from Manfe, there is no road that leads to Manfe, but the revenue that is coming there from custom are being fed by air, by helicopter to Yaoundé. There is no treasury in Southern Cameroon that can boost off the revenue. The revenue generated from Limbe are being diverted to Douala. And yet you want to tell me why we should remain with La Republique. Many of you, when you see me, you walk on the side because you don't want to voice your concern. You don't want to be the good guys that I can travel to La Republique. Give me a genuine reason why we should remain with La Republique. When the revenue generated are being paid to the treasury in Douala instead of the Southern Cameroon territory. When forests are being cut, destroyed, and transported and being owned by Paul Biya's son. Why the people of Southern Cameroon, they have basically no food to eat on the table. Even their crop, they cannot be converted from the area of production to the area of market. There is not even a secondary process of processing those goods to the level that they can be marketable. And yet, you want to tell me how you are the good guys that we must stay beside. We will remain silent. We're not going to support because we are the good guys. Tell me why you should not support the people of Southern Cameroon for the sovereignty of their destiny. When you travel to Southern Cameroon, just immediately as you step to the Douala airport, just the heat that hit you, you always think whether you should divert back and take the next flight back. But if we have decided and that the Southern Cameroon territory, the airport should be put in productive and given the accountability of the Anglo-Saxon way of life, we should have developed Southern Cameroon and it will be the most prosperous territory in the African continent. But yet, we don't want to talk about it. We want to be the good guys. Yeah, we want to remain silent because we have to travel to La Republique. We need to rally. We have an interim government. We have an interim government. And that interim government has an executive. And that executive has acting president because our interim government is not available. And we are still finding where they are. And so we need to rally behind the new acting president as he leads us moving forward to the future of Southern Cameroon. There are lists of things that I want us, the acting government or the interim government, to immediately put as a prerequisite to the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon. One, a new currency should be instituted in Southern Cameroon, and that the CFA should be banned immediately, right now. The CFA should be banned because it's the colonial currency, and a new currency be reinstituted in the Southern Cameroon territory. And that the CFA should be banned entirely in the Southern Cameroon, and that it should not be any legal tender, and that all the entire Southern Cameroon should not use the CFA as any legal tender in the Southern Cameroon territory. Because as we keep on relying on the CFA as a legal tender in Southern Cameroon, we continue to remain a slave of La République. They need another item. They need to establish a digital network. If you have an amount of CFA, you need to convert it to that amount. There should be a network design. That network design should be implemented. The network, if you have any amount in CFA, then you need to subscribe to that amount. And that the Southern Cameroon or interim government or the acting government should acknowledge that this is the amount of money you have in CFA. So as they are doing the conversion to the new currency, that the CFA will no longer be valid, and that it will give at least 1 year transition period. And this 1 year transition period, if you have any amount of CFA and that you need to subscribe to that, and that the interim government shall put that as a legal amount of money that a certain individual is having. And once that amount is deposited, we then know you are entitled to the new Southern Cameroon currency. This should be a proposal on the table. I know many of you will ask me, how will that work? Yes. How would that work in La République? Yes, La République, once that currency is immediately introduced, it doesn't matter whether it has already been applied. But once they start sensitize the people that the Southern Cameroon currency is now an official legal tender, it doesn't matter whether it is fiscally in La République, it can be anywhere circulating, although it's not a legal tender for that particular nations, but it can be circulating, and that each of the money shall begin gradually in circulation in La République, in the Southern Cameroon territory. Once the people started accepting the new currency of the Southern Cameroon, it will immediately start exercising those duties, and that La République CFA should be discarded after the length of time that has been deposited. And so there is a digital network system. We don't require La République to make a digital network system. With a digital network system, the money individual will subscribe the amount they have available, and that will be registered in that system, and that becomes the legal amount of individual that is owned. That is amount in CFA. And how can it be equivalent to the new Southern Cameroon currency? I think that's the way we have to be moving forward. The interim government or the acting president, they need to look at this as a major prerogative or priority. That as this new currency are being put in place, there should be a digital network system or federal Ambazonian digital network system or currency network system. The purpose of the digital network currency system is to ask any federal Southern Cameroon that have any amount in CFA to be subsequently subscribed to that website. And once you subscribe, that amount shall be allocated to you as your own physical currency, and that the CFA that you have with you become invalid. And those money shall be immediately, those areas that have been adopted or have been conquered by the Southern Cameroon, that immediately currency shall be proceed and be immediately started circulating and shall be used as a means of exchange. I think this is a strategy that the interim government or the acting president need to take this as a matter of priority. We cannot just wait until the day we arrive in the Southern Cameroon before we introduce everything. Otherwise, we are doomed to fail. So we need to start exercising this goal right now, immediately, and right now. I want to echo again. I said the current government or the Federal Republic of Ambazonian or the acting or interim government, the first thing is to establish a digital Southern Cameroon currency. That digital thing allows the citizens of the Southern Cameroon to subscribe, and they will indicate the amount they have in CFA. That automatically, there should be a currency exchange rate that will recognize that the certain amount of CFA that the current citizen is subscribing, is having, is equivalent to this amount. and that he or she is entitled to that amount. And once they have accepted that integration, that CFA become invalid into the Southern Cameroon territory. And there should be a time frame. It doesn't matter whether the rest of the world accept the Southern Cameroon as a legal tender. But we, the Southern Cameroon, can use it as a means of exchange. And that's a means which we can convert our goods and services from one product to the next product using the Southern Cameroon currency. And that should be instituted in any area that they conquer, in any area they take over, in any area that they implement. That should be the strategic moving forward. Once the people started assimilating and started utilizing that they have a currency and that they have a money that they can use as a medium of exchange of goods and services in Southern Cameroon, Labomi immediately began to disembark unconditionally, even though the acting government or the interim government is not physically there in Southern Cameroon. No billions of military wing of La Republic can able to destroy the Southern Cameroon currency as a means as they are moving forward. One will ask me, how can that be feasible? Well, it is feasible. Once you establish a digital Southern Cameroon currency, a website, and if I am living in Southern Cameroon and I have 100,000 CFA in my hand as cash, and I will go to the website and indicate that this is the amount I have in CFA. We acknowledge that he has 100,000 francs in CFA, and we acknowledge that he has this amount, and that this amount is entitled to the Southern Cameroon currency, and we should have our own Southern Cameroon digital that acknowledge that amount of transaction, and the people can begin to do the transaction. Phone system is possible. And I can tell that I have 100,000 digital currency of the Southern Cameroon, in Southern Cameroon. And I meet someone who has a son and he's willing to sell his son. And I told him I have this amount, I'm paying you this amount. That man acknowledged that I am allocating. And this began to function right now. And I allocate to him that I am paying the bag of cement at 3,000 Southern Cameroon currency. And I can immediately allocate that amount to his account right now. And that is how Southern Cameroon began to pull its way out of La Republique CFA. And the Southern Cameroon currency began to assimilate into circulation. Because we cannot wait till the day we land in Southern Cameroon territory. But once we began to tell them that our era of technology is more advanced to the entire La Republique concern, and that is where we can move forward. I want to take a moment to thank you. I still have more details on how we can move forward. And I will be bringing subsequently as the time arises. I want to take a moment to thank you. And I don't want to take the rest of your week as you prepare for your daily activities. But I want to tell you that Southern Cameroon, a sovereign nation, is now moving forward with its sovereignty. And we are asking the international community that don't wait till the people listen, but you need to come now on the table. Because if Iranian crawl, the entire world are just fumbling. But when the Southern Cameroon, how many thousand refugees, they remain silent. But however, because we have the same level of intelligence and education equivalent to more or even more than those individuals, we can tell them we can use our technology and we can move forward and we can conquer La Republique, and that is the way moving forward. And I want to take a moment to thank you so much and have a wonderful day. God bless. Southern Cameroon, oh yeah.